Hi, this is your girl Felicia P. Johnson. It's good to be back with you again on today. And now we're going to do part two of clearing bad air. So, what do I mean by that? Well, what I am doing is taking the time to filter, not relate to you a diary or journal or memoir, not a rough draft or brainstorming. I am filtering. That means the information that I have, I'm bringing it up, I'm releasing it, and I'm letting it go. So I'm filtering my thoughts, I'm filtering my experiences. This time, I'm not doing it in my own confinement space of where I may like to write or like to read, privacy of my own home, behind the scenes. I'm doing it openly with all of you. And that all goes into a part of my therapeutic process of healing and recovery. I have shared with you that I had paralysis and multiple illnesses that I'm recovering from and had recovered from. And being that I worked in nursing homes, I received different certifications in that area, I found myself having to use the very modalities that we used with our patients, our residents. I had to create my own care plan and use the very same programs for myself. We did one such program called Coffee Clatch. And in Coffee Clatch, we would have the residents come together, and that was our morning time to have some coffee, maybe some graham crackers or something of that nature, something light, little snack, where they could just relax in the morning time and share, talk softly with each other, talk with the therapist, how they slept the night before or what was on their mind that particular morning. So it was just a time of relaxation and comfort. They could watch the news at that time as a group and discuss what was happening on the news. And so I found myself having to do a coffee clatch for myself. It wasn't a group coffee clatch directly, but indirectly it was. So I go to the restaurant and I have my cup of coffee and I get on the computer and do my web surfing, do my LinkedIn, Facebooking, and I'm doing it while I'm surrounded by groups of people coming and going. So it is a sensory stimulator as well. It keeps the brain active and engaged, and it uplifts, it boosts your personal morale. So there is a lot of healing and therapeutic processing that is good for going out and having a cup of coffee, especially early in the mornings. So just wanted to clear the air on that. People go out and have coffee for many other reasons, different reasons. Some have groups, seniors go out and they have coffee and they stay a time to sit and chat together. There's a medical term for that. It's therapeutic. It's therapeutic recreation is what it is. Okay, it's a coffee clatch time if you are in the healthcare facility. They're open, out, free to move about as they come and go when they're in the public. And so it's just considered a time where they're coming together and, as retirees and sitting and chatting amongst themselves. So we have to be very careful how we judge others people's actions, motives, and intent, and stop always labeling people and putting a definition on who they are and what it is they're doing, or what it is they are trying to accomplish or achieve, or what their purpose is every move that they make. I find that absurd. So we're just clearing the air on that. So I want to clear the air again on a few other things. I'm going back a little bit. I told you that I was also the author of the book A Historical Glimpse About Your Braids, which I had taken out of print. It is a pictorial, a juvenile book with historical information on the evolution of braids and information on the culture of African women and how they transformed their cultural sitting session to beautify themselves in the art and skill of braiding hair, and to teach each other how to braid hair and have the proper etiquettes in the social circle, and turn that into a lucrative business here on the shores of the United States of America, where they're able to provide a living for themselves and even for their family members back home. Within the book, like I said, we had some editing issues. Because of my health, I really was concerned with just completing the book to fulfill the requirements of my MBA graduate program. So what was actually the final release really was more of an outline to a more thorough book and explanation and exploration of that particular topic. Within the book, it also gives you some history on what was taking place before slavery, during slavery, and after slavery as it relates to braided hairstyles. Now, I touch upon after slavery, the Emancipation Proclamation, how slave owners began to take indentured servants, and the cotton became the next big thing to bring income to those particular slave owners or former slave owners. And by them having a financial drought, one way that they were able to maintain their farms and their wealth was to take former slaves as indentured servants, or they put them on the black market. Ultimately, they became sex trafficked. It became sex trafficking. They were sex trafficked from those plantations onto other areas, and that is the way they began to maintain their wealth, is that they went underground with slavery and they started sex trafficking. Now, by that being in the book, me saying that, it is not to teach or provide a formula for people to go out and start sex trafficking or being sexually explicit entertainers or anything of that. That's not what the book is about. That's not what I promote. I am a big advocate against sex trafficking, and would hope that the book would shed the education on these beginnings and how it relates to what's happening presently, so that we can be more aware as a society and combat what was once happening, that it doesn't continue to happen in our present day life. So I don't want the information to be construed with saying I'm in favor of this, or to reflect a bad image on the culture of the African people, because it's not intended to do that. This is more about the beauty of the culture, the more positive aspect of the culture that we don't often hear about or see, and bringing it up to current event of how the African women live in America today, such beautiful women, and they have been able to do so through earning income from that skill that they brought with them from their homeland through the travels of slavery. So the book was also being in the editorial process. I was writing a second book to that, and that information was extracted from my computer, deleted from my computer. It got hacked into, and I explained that in part one of clearing the air. That the computer had been hacked, and I had a lot of information that had been stolen from the computer, and a lot of information that I had began to write for the second book hadn't really put anything in any certain order yet. It's just a rough draft of it, and I really start to get discouraged about writing, because every time I start to write, my information gets sabotaged, and so that just became very discouraging, and I just didn't want to put anything else out there. Um, so clearing the air on that. What else? I want to clear the air on when I came back to Mobile, Alabama from New York City. I knew that I was going to have to finish up some business that was left undone when I left, and I've been doing that. I've been attempting to straighten things out and correct maybe where some things have been erred. One of those, and in so doing, there's also the rumor of, well, what was she out there doing in New York? And people didn't know that I was in school, but they knew I was having some other issues that were going on. Well, let me tell you one thing that Felicia was not doing in New York City. Felicia was not a prostitute. Felicia did not work the nightclubs. I don't club. I haven't been in a club since I was probably 26 or 27 years old. I stopped that a long, long time ago. So when anybody else, I'm talking about me, not other people, just talking about me. So that's not anything that was happening in my life in New York City. But I can tell you how that rumor probably came about. I have a relative who I had spoken to. I had gone on an interview for a security guard job. And when I was coming from that interview, at a distance, I saw an old neighborhood friend who we grew up with, a relative grew up with in the city of New York, hadn't seen in over 20 years since we had become adults. And he was too far away for me to scream out his name or to call him, and I couldn't run up there to get him before he crossed the street. So by the time I reached the corner where he was waiting to cross, he had already began to cross, and he couldn't hear me calling his name out for him to turn around. But once he got across the street, he was able to pick up me screaming out his name, and he turns around, he looks, he can't get back across the street because the traffic is now going under the light. So I was standing there on the corner when he saw me. I was standing on the corner, and I was dressed very nice because I had been to an interview. So he comes back across the street. We're standing there on the corner having a conversation. No, it was not the bus stop. I was standing on the corner because I was trying to get his attention when he crossed the street. So that explains why Felicia P. Johnson was on the corner. She was not on the corner picking up a John. Let's clear the air. Bad air. So the rumor gets out that I'm in the city engaged in this type of activity. Not true. So we've cleared the air on that. Now what else do I want to clear the air about? Well, we're going to clear the air about Felicia being a stripper. How did that rumor come out? Who would come up with that? Well, let me tell you something. I've had my share of good times in the world, and I didn't go out very, very often. But when I did, trust me, homegirl had a good time. I partied myself so it would last me until I got ready to go out again. And one thing is, by my mother being an educated person, and by us also being from the city, my sister and I, we grew up in a very diverse population of races. So we had exposure to people in many different lights. And my mom had Caucasian friends when she was in college that she would invite to the house during holiday times, Christmas time, and they would come over and party and drink with she and our other friends and family members from the African American community. And there's just one incident that we still talk about, to this day when we're talking to each other. How they would come in and my mom would fix this big, 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 big old pot of gumbo with these crabs in it and all. And this one guy, he was like sloppy drunk. This white guy was sloppy drunk. And he just went in there in the pot and just stuck his whole hand in the pot and just swirled it around, picking the crabs out of out of the pot to just eat. And juice was dripping everywhere, dropping everywhere. And we was like, oh no, no, we can't eat the gumbo. He's ruined the whole gumbo pot of gumbo, And those were the kind of good times that we had. So I was used to just a free open space of be who you are, enjoy yourself, have fun when you go out, and not feel like you have to sit in the corner because somebody's going to have something negative to say about your behavior once you leave, when it's obvious that you're in a place to have a good time, and that's what you're supposed to do as long as you're not hurting anybody. And so I was engaged to a young man at the time, and we had gone to a co-worker's birthday party, his co-worker's birthday party. And many of the people who were there I knew very well, including his family and his best friends. And then there were other people who were strangers to me. They were co-workers of his who I had never met before. So I will admit, we had a pretty good bit to drink. I wasn't drunk, but I was feeling good. Yes, I was. I was feeling good. And we was dancing and having a great time. So he took the ice in his drink cup and poured it down my shirt and began to eat the ice out of my shirt. And so I took my shirt and I began to open it like this. And from that, we was dancing the night away and having a good time with him, reaching for the ice. And of course, I did not unroll myself at all. But from that, it became rumored that I was a stripper. So let's clear the air. I know nothing about getting on the pole, anything about stripping and what people do in the privacy of their bedrooms with whoever their partner may be at that time. It's not for the world to know. It's their business. If you want to strip down and do what you do, whatever you do during that time, it's not an explanation that's needed to anyone else in the world. All right? So we're just going to clear the bad air on that. Not a prostitute, not a stripper. Now, am I a goody two-shoe? Oh, absolutely I was not. I had a great time. Did a lot of things in my life. Probably should have went to jail for a couple of them. But hey, bless the man, the woman whose sins are covered. That's what the Bible tells us. Why? Because we're still growing. We're still learning. Even at 20, we're still children. Even at 25, young people, young adults are still at home with their parents. Why? They're still growing. They're still learning. They haven't got there yet. They're still making memories for themselves. They're still gaining life experiences. Okay, so it's all about growth. It's all about growth. Living, learning, trying new things and finding out everything isn't meant to be a new thing in your life to do or to practice. So we've cleared the air on that. Now, there's one other thing I'm going to share with you and clear the air on for today on part 2. And that is when I was doing some advocating with my Food for Thought program. Food for Thought is all around an educational program. Now, if it entails that we need to educate our public, our listeners, on matters of sexuality or relationships or things of that nature, then yes, that's a topic that can be discussed under the right circumstances. But it is definitely not to promote it. It is or to create some type of program to have people engage in the act, that some people have programs or businesses, that are or dating businesses, dating sites, or what have you, those type of things. Not along those lines at all. So let's clear the air on that. It's all about awareness, and awareness is a gamut of topics. It's infinity, it's unlimited when it comes to awareness in society. So we're clearing the air on that. And then I invited a young lady to speak on my platform. I won't mention her name, but I did invite her to speak on my platform, and I felt it was better for her to speak rather than myself, because it was her personal experience, and I felt it would have a greater impact on the audience and the people in whom it needed to be impressed upon, who had the means and the resources to help the program do what it was purposed to do, if she would speak. And then I wanted to coach her along the way as well. Well, there were a lot of other things about the young lady at the time that I didn't know. I'm of the Christian faith. She's of a different faith. And so that being said, after we had the public speaking engagement, I had to sever that relationship with her, because it became in question whether or not this person was involved in any terroristic activities, and there was going to be a conflict of interest between she and I based on our religious ideologies. It's not that I'm not a woman of my word. You tell someone you're going to do something with them, but again, not knowing that it could be something that was outside of the purpose of what we were in a relationship for, and that was the business of Food for Thought, educational outreach, and humanitarian purposes, and not a whole bunch of other craziness that may have spawned from that. And I'd have to say, when I speak of we in any letters that may have went out surrounding that situation during that time, I'm talking about me, the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, and my children, if anything. That's my family. That would be we. Now, if you want to have been included in part of that we, the proper thing to do would have been to come and speak to me directly and personally and air out what your opinions and thoughts were on the Food for Thought purpose and what had gone out before the council, what was spoken and what was said. And if you felt that you had something to add to that, then you don't just go and form your own board or graft it in as part of your ministry and just totally overlook the founder of it and the person who is operating and make them a director. They know nothing about what you're doing. Let me tell you, if any of that is going on, let's clear the air. Felicia Pickett Johnson has nothing to do with it. I don't know anything about it. No one's come to me and told me anything about it. I'm simply just putting it out there. I'm just saying. I'm not a part of it. I don't want to be a part of it. If it's something that has been done, I'm approachable. I would love for someone to come and let me know what's happening, so I can say, well, what did you do with it? Is it, is it effective? Is it positive? Is it making a good difference? And then maybe we can sit down and iron something out. But other than that, I have no parts in it. I am not director of anybody's programs. I am not president of anybody's programs. I am not an assistant pastor to anyone in their church or their ministry of any type of way. So let's clear the air on that. I'm going to clear the air on this one last thing. I was at one time, I was ordained into the ministry, and I made a decision to step down from the ministry. I left that particular ministry, and I've been to several different churches, and I'm not shedding a bad light on anybody's ministry at all. I'm talking about me. I'm talking about Felicia. I stepped down from the ministry, and I felt that was the best thing for me to do. I have reached out to this ministry on several occasions by way of the mail, by letter. I've called, and I never get a response from them in acknowledgement that I have resigned from their ministry. I am no longer a licensed ministerial person. I am not operating under the fivefold ministry in their church. They have not responded to me. So I'm just publicly putting it out there for you to know. So I do not operate in anybody's ministry as part of their assistantship or anything of that nature at all. Period. I love them with the love of the Lord, and I'm going to leave that at that and pray for their continued blessings as well as my own. So this has been your girl Felicia P. Johnson on part 2 of Clearing the Air, and I hope that clears up some things for those of you who have had to bear the rumor mills, who already know me, and for those of you who are just getting to know me and will get to know me better. You have a blessed day. You will soon see another video that will come up, and we're going to finish talking about the focus of wisdom from Prayer Wall, which is on my Facebook account. We did a good study on presenting your body as a living sacrifice, and did that for several months, and now I have moved on into my focus group to talk about wisdom, and I'm coming out of the book of Ecclesiastes 34, which is in the Bible that I'm using, the New Standard Version with the Apocrypha, in the book of Sirach. I am not saying this right, but it's spelled Sirach. I do apologize for that. But it's the book of Ecclesiastes, and it comes from the Canticles, that are the books of the Bible that have been kept in the Vatican, the Vatican all of these years within the Catholic Church. But you'll find these books that are now being inserted back into the King James Bible, or the new versions of the King James Bible. You'll find them in the Catholic Bible. They've always been there. So God bless you. You have a great day, and I wish you well.